Cowlings. 3 days after the chase had taken place, I had asked AC, "Do you know what happened to the murder weapon?" He had told me they'll never find it. But the knife they now had, the alleged murder weapon, was not the murder weapon, and they'd soon find out.
That kind of testimony could certainly influence whether O.J. Simpson spends the rest of his life in prison. Today, on the first day of jury selection in the Simpson trial, we're going to introduce you to Jennifer Peace. And we're also going to look at what's in store for the 12 jurors who will decide the fate of O.J. Simpson. That's right now, live from New York City on Rolonda. Welcome to Rolonda. We're coming to you live from New York City today. We want to remind you, as we always do on our live shows, our telephone lines are open across the country. You'll see the number flashed on your screen. We invite you to come join the conversation. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're talking about on this, the first day of jury selection for the O.J. Simpson trial. If you have been following our coverage of this incredible drama, then you know that in the past 107 days since the murders, this story has certainly taken dozens of peculiar twists and turns. A little later in this show, we're going to be talking about the latest developments in the Los Angeles criminal courts. But first, more on Jennifer Peace. One of the newest faces making the courthouse scene is Jennifer Peace. She's a former porn star and a former girlfriend of O.J.'s best friend, Al Cowlings. Jennifer has been quoted as saying, "Cowlings confided in her, and now she's coming forward to reveal what could turn out to be more damaging pieces in the puzzle of who murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman." Making her very first talk show appearance is Jennifer Peace, joining us live today from New York City. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's go back, if we could. Have you ever met O.J. and Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes, briefly.
Briefly. And under what circumstances? How did you meet them?
I'd been out with AC one evening, and this is about 6 weeks to 2 months prior to the murders. And we were out, and I had known from the moment that I'd met him that he was friends. That was something that his friends, when they had set me up with him, had told me. Mm-hmm. And he had taken me over to the house just for a brief visit, and Nicole and O.J. were there. And we were there for a total of about 30 to 40 minutes before a fight broke out between the two of them, a physical fight, and I grew very uncomfortable. And they had left the room. I don't know what provoked the fight. They had left the room, but I could see through the doorway there was a lot of pushing and slapping going on both parts. Mm-hmm. And I had grown uncomfortable around it, and I told AC that I wanted to leave, so he went in there and told O.J., and we had left right after. So I just met him briefly, and it was just the one time.
You have made quite some serious allegations or some serious testimony. What are you claiming?
I don't know that I'm claiming anything. I do know that a lot of things have been said that I didn't say. I do hold information that AC has told me. However, to my knowledge, I do not believe it is incriminating. A lot of things have been taken out of context, and my personal theories have been quoted instead of actual statements that AC made to me. But other than that...
Let's go with the actual statements that AC made to you. Let's clear up some things. What did AC say to you?
He told me a lot of things concerning the gloves and what went on in the car chase and things like that. A lot of things, people have asked my opinions, such as in Time magazine, and I had given my opinion, my theory of O.J.'s guilt or innocence.
And that is what?
My opinion is he is guilty.
And where do you draw that conclusion from?
He's either guilty or this guy had the most unlucky day of his whole life. I mean, he's got scratch marks up and down his back. He cut his hand the same day. His blood was found at the scene of the crime as well as his hair. Their blood was found at his... I mean, this guy's really having a bad day if he is not guilty.
So what did A.C. Cowlings say to you as it pertained to the crime?
Little things here and there, such as things that I didn't make anything out of prior to the murder, such as the loaning of a pair of black gloves, the same way you would loan a shirt to a girlfriend. And therefore, after, when I had seen him after the chase, I had said, you know, things look pretty incriminating toward him, what's going on? You know, look at the black gloves that they found on his lawn. Mm-hmm. And AC said, I just hope those aren't the gloves that I'd loaned him about a month prior to the murders.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that he said?
Things that went on in the car chase. I can't believe a man who was so innocent would go to such extremes and want to blow his own brains out if he was so confident about his innocence.
Mm-hmm. If what you're saying is true, then why haven't you been summoned so far, you think, to testify at the trial?
Because I think that I will be for the Cowlings trial. However, everything that I know about the OJ trial is really third-person hearsay. Technically, I can be summoned, but it's third-person hearsay.
You have presented your testimony so far, though. Tell us about that. Who did you present your testimony to?
The grand jury I was subpoenaed. Cowlings grand jury.
To Cowlings grand jury. We have a caller on the phone now, Mike from Georgia. Hello, Mike.
Yes, I wanted to know why she would Cowlings confide in her.
Why would Cowlings confide in you, Jennifer?
Because I am a friend of his, and it wasn't just me that he confided in. So it's not like I'm the sole holder of any information. He confided in other friends because they had told me and confirmed certain things that he had told me. I'm not the only one he told. Also, when I had testified in front of the grand jury, I was so nervous and they told me, don't be, you're the 8th person in here with the same story. He didn't just talk to me. It was other people.
Were there any mentions made to you about weapons, anything? Hello, caller.
Yes, Rolonda?
Yes. Is this still Mike?
No, I'm Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Steve, hold on just 1 second for me. Let me just complete this one question. Jennifer, were there any other mentions of weapons, anything more specific other than the glove that AC might have said to you?
When I had saw him 3 days after the chase had taken place and he had been arrested and he had gotten out, I was with him and I asked him, what happened to the murder weapon? And he had said, he said, they'll never find it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, just, they'll never find it. But he said, the knife they have now, and he was referring to the knife I guess OJ had purchased. I don't know if you would classify that as a hunting knife, but he said, that's not the murder weapon, and they'll soon find that out.
Steve, we'll come back to your call right after this commercial. We encourage any of you listening out across America, when you see the number flashed on your screen, come join this conversation. We want to know what you're thinking and what you're talking about. Let me ask a question to our viewers now and also to our audience members. Do you think that you could be an objective juror as we go day to day, getting further and further from the actual murder and getting closer to the trial? More things are developing, like what you just heard here from Jennifer. When we come back, we're going to select 3 members of our audience. I want you to act as potential jurors. We have some law experts who are going to come up next, and they're going to cross-examine you. And we're going to ask the question, really deep in your heart, if you think you could be an objective juror. And we're going to talk about more about the jury selection on this, the first day of jury selection in the O.J. Simpson trial, and we'll see you right after this.
Was there a phone call immediately after the murders or sometime that night between Jennifer and Mr. Cowlings?
I can't say.
Why can't you say? Can you deny it?
I can't deny it, I can't confirm it, and I won't.
What if your children told you they were sexually active? Find out how to talk to your child about sex on the next Rolonda. Joining us right now, we're coming to you live from New York City on this, the first day of jury selection in the O.J. Simpson trial. We are talking with Jennifer Peace, who is a former girlfriend of AC, Cowlings, O.J.'s best friend, and who is coming up with some rather startling comments, things that you say that you heard from AC himself. I know that we had a caller. Steve, we're still going to come to you, Steve, from Washington, D.C. In fact, Steve, go on and get your question in.
I would just like to ask, why is it that always under these circumstances, the has-been girlfriends and individuals come out of the woodwork for publicity to make these kind of accusations of what they heard in statements? Why is it?
Steve, I think that's an excellent point, and Jennifer will throw that question to you. Why is it that you've come out of the, as Steve puts it, out of the woodwork for publicity now in light of what has gone on? Why now? Why come out?
That's a That's a question that's common around a few people who don't know all the facts. I never came out. I made the stupid mistake of confiding in a few people, friends of mine that I knew. And apparently when you sell, I don't know what you would call it, bits to tabloids, a story that they could use, they get a hold of you. And that's what my friends did. A few of them, and I know exactly who they are, had tipped the tabloids off, and that's how they got onto me. I was served with a search warrant from the police for audio cassettes that I had supposedly possessed, as well as handwritten letters of AC talking about the murder, which is ludicrous. There's no such thing. So I was subpoenaed. I did not come forward going, listen to me, I got a story to tell. It
So
didn't
what
happen
has
like
this
that.
done for your life? When you tell a friend something, and the friend runs to the tabloid, sells it, next thing you know, the cops are at your door subpoenaing you to testify before a grand jury, and now you're on a talk show. What has that done for your life?
It's difficult because you're under a lot of ridicule, such as this gentleman just asked Steve, why do you come forward now? I don't come forward. It's not of my own free will. This is really none of my business, this particular case. But when you're served with a search warrant as well as a subpoena, you have to say what you know.
From the audience.
Yeah, I just like to say, everybody have their opinion about this whole case, and just like me and my wife was talking about it. And my opinion is that the guy who used to be his housekeeper, you know, that's my opinion, that he has a lot to do with it also, because he knows so much about the whole situation.
With Cato?
Yeah, Cato. He knows so much about the whole scenario of everything that happened, and that's just my opinion that, you know, he was involved with it some type of way, fashion or form.
Okay, one thing let's stress on this, that in this country you are innocent until proven guilty. That is one of the things that I know that people always want to hear, because that's the way our system has got to work. Yes, Ella?
Yeah, I understand everything that you're saying, but my question is almost like Steve's. You're saying that everything that you said was taken out of context, but you're here now saying he's guilty. So you're contradicting yourself. Either you're going to be impartial and stay out of it and just go to jury and tell him what you have to say, or you're going to say, yes, he's guilty, and just tell everything you know.
Yes, I do have my theories. I'm not contradicting myself in terms of, you know, my opinions. I do have my own opinions, such as some of you believe that he's innocent, some may believe he's guilty. It's hard to remain impartial when you're watching the news all the time. However, I have my own ideas, seeing as how AC said they'll never find the knife. If you're going to make that kind of a statement, then you must know where it's at. Otherwise, you would never have addressed the question.
Well, these are the types of things that we're asking today, audience. I mean, after you hear everybody in America, now across the world have been listening to all the information coming out, and we're asking the question, under those circumstances, well, let me ask you, Jennifer, do you think with bombshell revelations like you're making that it's possible to have impartial jurors?
It's so difficult. I mean, he's a worldwide star, and according to their tumultuous past, I mean, and he's the only one that's tied to and that DNA thing is the real, I mean, you know, that pretty much.
Jennifer, you have also gone as far as to say that you heard through Al Cowlings more about the stalking situation, that O.J. had been stalking, allegedly.
Correct.
Tell me more about this. What did Al Cowlings say to you?
2 nights prior to the murder, the Friday before, he had called me up, and he had been telling me, though, before this, 2 months prior, about the reconciliation between Nicole and O.J. and about how they would argue constantly. And he had told me about, I said, what's wrong? Why aren't they getting back together? And he said, it's because of some guy named Ron. He suspects he's sleeping with her. So 2 nights prior to the murder on the Friday night, he'd called me up, upset, and I said, what's wrong? And he said, OJ's called me a few times tonight. He's following Ron around just to find out his routine, just simply to find out if he's going to her house at night. The day of the chase, you know, when you're on the phone talking to friends about it, the other friends that he's told, I had asked them, you know, can you believe what's going on? And they said, well, according to AC, said, did you hear about the Friday night before? This was Stan, very close friend of AC's. I didn't tell him what I knew. He told me that, well, oh, you heard about the stalking, OJ stalking Ron the 2 nights before. That's what put it into my head. I'm not the only one he's talking to.
Okay, from the audience.
If Al Cowlings was such a good friend of yours, just wondering how you could violate a confidence. He told you this information, how you could go to the press and publicly tell everyone what he told you.
Again, I was subpoenaed, and when you're subpoenaed, you kind of have no choice. And I thought, this is really none of my business. If I'm going to get sucked in neck first, I'm going to do what I can.
Wait, what was this?
I said the Inquirer did not subpoena you.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to address that. If I'm going to get sucked in neck first, and get all this ridicule from people going, she's not telling the truth. Why should I get beat down and not get anything out of it? I also have a lot of other added expenses where
Jennifer, I can't help but bring this up, and I know this kind of going off the thing here, but in the Time magazine article, you also made an allegation, or you say that you are pregnant with Barry Bond's
That's
child?
my added expenses.
Pardon?
That's my added expenses, the prenatal care.
The prenatal care.
Correct.
Okay. So I must say that there are going to be those who are going to question your credibility.
That's
You're
exactly why they're questioning it. It's because two high-profile cases. The O.J. case is really none of my business. The Barry Bonds case is very much my business.
Okay. We'll be right back with more on this first day of jury selection, the O.J. Simpson trial. We're coming to you live from New York City. We'll be right back in a minute.
You're charged in this complaint in case number BA097211. You committed the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, in that you did willfully and unlawfully and with malice aforethought murder Nicole Brown Simpson.
This is the very first day of jury selection in the O.J. Simpson case. It is 107 days since the actual murders took place. We are stressing here, O.J. Simpson, like any American citizen, is innocent until proven guilty. But it's the testimony of folks like Jennifer Peace who are going to, that's rather damaging testimony, some of the things you're saying. I know we have a caller from Alabama. Danny, you have what to say?
Well, I had heard on the news that she had just a few dates with him, and I'd like to know, hey, Rolonda?
Yes?
Okay, I'd just like to know what kind of relationship did she have with Al?
Okay, let's ask. Jennifer, what kind of relationship? I mean, was this just dating, or were you really the girlfriend? Or?
No, we were dating, and everyone is classifying it as a monogamous relationship. Over a period of 5 to 6 months, I'd met him at the end of February toward the beginning of March, and we had been mostly friends, but we were intimate a few times, and I don't really classify that as a monogamous relationship.
From the audience.
I wanted to know, have you ever socialized with O.J. and Nicole, or no?
No, just
Never
met them
met
that one time
O.J.?
briefly.
Okay, all right, come on.
I want to know, why would AC want to tell you his personal details about relationship with O.J. Simpson when they're such great friends? Why would he jeopardize telling you, who is not such a steady girlfriend, of all these allegations that you're making? Why? Why should we believe you?
You're saying,
why should we believe you?
There is, really, it doesn't matter because I'm not on trial, so I understand your skepticism. I'd be the same way. However, he told me nothing incriminating. I didn't see anything. I do not know for sure, and he certainly would never tell me that.
From the audience.
Hi. I just wanted to comment on the DNA. I heard on the news the other day, it was Channel 7, that there was a report about the DNA is overrated. Did you hear that too? Or
Well, what is your question for Jennifer?
No, I just wanted to make a comment
Okay,
about if
all
other
right.
people heard.
Let's take a caller, Maria from Puerto Rico. Maria.
Yes, hello.
Thank you. Yes, what's your question?
Well, I personally don't feel that she's being fair as far as right before the trial coming on the show and talking about O.J. when she doesn't even personally know him. And I wanted to know what she was getting out of it.
Jennifer, what are you getting out of it?
Grief.
Grief. Well, she's not getting paid.
I'm not getting paid. Not
From
for
the
the
audience.
show.
I feel like if Collins did tell her that, he'd be incriminating himself by saying they never going to find the murder weapon. Like if he knew or seen a thing done himself. And I think she's in it for the money because he's a call girl, porno star. What else is she in for?
Jennifer, you have to realize you're going to get a lot of heat from this. I mean,
right.
You're going, but at the same time, while your testimony, I mean, we're listening to it. This is part of what this big case we've been following. It's still, you're going to take a lot of heat from a lot of people who wonder what your motivation is.
I'm already getting it. So I understand that, and he is innocent until proven guilty. My opinions do not constitute a conviction or a confession at all. However, Paula Barbieri did things, and she's getting movie roles, and Kato Kalin's getting movie roles. I have nothing like that. So apparently, I'm not doing as great as you think I am.
What do you hope this will parlay into? Are you hoping that something good will come out of this for you?
I think in 2 weeks, Jennifer Peace will be completely forgotten, and then I will never be hounded again by another reporter.
Let me just move on. Let's get back to our jury selection. Jennifer, thank you. We have selected 3 members of our audience who are going to act as jury members for us and actually be cross-examined as if they were going to be a part of this trial so that we can get an idea of the types of questions that will be asked to potential jury members in this case. Let me introduce them to you. Come on, folks, stand up. These are my 3 jury members. Give me your name.
Bernie Ayatoro.
Okay, your name?
Gloria Portilla.
Okay.
Seymour Swan.
Seymour Swan. When we come back, or toward the end of the show, rather, we're going to have our law experts ask you some of the questions that could well be asked of the potential jurors. And I want you to answer honestly, because many of us wonder if we ourselves could possibly be a part of this jury. We'll be right back, live from New York City on O.J. Simpson Jury Selection. Today. And we're talking about the first day of jury selection in the O.J. Simpson trial. And helping us understand this difficult process right now is Joseph Kellner, the former president of the American and New York Trial Lawyers Associations. Kellner says the prosecution is going to look for law and order types for this jury, who could easily convict a man like O.J. Simpson. Gigi Gordon, who is a criminal defense lawyer from Los Angeles, says the defense is going to look for sports fans, people who don't resent O.J.'s income and fame. And Sonia Hamlin, who wrote the book, What Makes Juries Listen, tells us that instinct is going to prove to be the best guide of all. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Let me just ask you this. Who would not want to be on this trial? One of the most famous murder cases in history, in decades. I mean, who would not want to be on this particular trial? Sonia?
Lots of people. When you recognize...
A lot of people.
I mean, look at them.
Wait, hold on a second. Let's take a random poll here in the audience. Give me a wide shot, please, Joey. How many people would definitely not want to be on the O.J. Simpson? My goodness.
See it?
How many people, who could tell me why they would not want to be on? Come on, right here.
Because I think that the media has portrayed O.J. Simpson in such a way that no one can be impartial, and I wouldn't want to be on a jury that I knew I could not give an impartial opinion on.
Wow, you're shaking your head. You agree with that? Why would you not want to be on the trial?
I totally agree, because our system, or the media, has a history of blatantly lying to people and making us programmed to think in a certain way.
Huh.
And I don't think I could go along with that or follow that in any way.
Now, you know, later in this show, we're going to talk about the media's influence. I mean, because the media is getting a bad rap on this, and if we're hindering our justice process, then people, you need to be concerned. But who would, and let me just see a show, who would definitely want to be on this trial? You would. And who can tell me why they would want to be on this trial? Stand up, please.
Well, I mean, you know, just to take part in the American justice system and, you know, put my 2 cents in.
Okay. Sonia, let's get back to you. Is it possible, and you know, it really kind of scares me to hear a young lady like this saying there could not be there's no impartiality.
You know, in a curious way, there is really never any total impartiality, because every juror walks into the courtroom with a suitcase full of their own prejudices, their own past experiences, people they don't like, the way people put things to them, and that kind of turns them off, and lots of information and opinions. One of the reasons for jury selection is indeed deselection, to try to get rid of those people who already are very much swayed in one way or another. But take a look at this. You'd have to excuse all of America.
Yes.
Everybody has heard it, and everybody's heard pieces. You know, the idea of a trial is you're supposed to come in, sit down, and have the best shot given for the prosecution, for the defense. They both do their summing up and say, now it's up to you guys. And then you go in and decide. We've been deciding for 3 months now.
I know.
And we've been spoon-fed what we should be deciding, and everybody keeps voting every day. So to begin with, O.J. Simpson, as a true citizen of this country, cannot really get a fair trial.
That's very... I don't mean to be the corny one in the group, but I just find that that's such a sad statement on our justice system. Mr. Kellner, now you
You've just hit on a very sensitive note, and that is that there are some people who are anxious to get onto this jury. Those who are anxious to get on the jury are willing, even though they're going to be segregated for months, perhaps, and not be able to go home to see their children if they're married, or their families, or their girlfriends or boyfriends, so forth. Anybody who's anxious to get on this jury and is so willing to be locked up, in effect, for months, you have to question their motives, because they may be anxious to get on this jury because they want to spring him, because they think he's innocent and that he's been set up by the media or by the vast publicity. On the other hand, people who are not anxious, like this young lady, and I think her remarkable honesty comes through because she does want to be a part of it, because she feels that the minds of most people are made up that he's guilty. And so the prosecution's got a tremendous cliff to climb in trying to get an impartial jury in this case.
Right. I was just reading this morning's USA Today. This says, they're talking about the jury members, ripped from family and home, torpedoed through seas of television cameras, put under brutal public inspection. The 12 who are chosen as Simpson jurors will enter an alien landscape with few signposts to guide them. Woo, that's frightening. Really frightening. Gigi, you say what about all of this?
Well, I say that anybody who's on this jury is going to be a prisoner themselves in a lot of ways. They're going to have to come and go in a sheriff's van. Probably the media will be going through their garbage cans to find out everything about them. It's not a pleasant thing to be, some people enjoy being in the public eye, but a lot of people don't. They don't want to have their lives interrupted.
Okay.
But I think the other thing is everybody keeps saying about an impartial jury, and as a defense lawyer, I don't want an impartial jury. I want a jury who already thinks my client is not guilty. The prosecution wants a jury who already thinks O.J. Simpson is guilty. No one wants a neutral or an impartial jury.
Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, tell us the type of scenarios that the prosecution is going to look for and the defense. And we'll take your question and many more. I know we have some callers on the line. Our phones are ringing off the hook because we're live here in New York City as we continue our conversation. We'll be right back in a minute. What's your question?
I'm so saturated by the irresponsibility of the media that I'm beyond being outraged. I mean, I'm almost numb to it at this point.
Mr. Cochrane, what can you tell us?
Johnny, get him, Johnny, get him, Johnny. Come on, Johnny, get him, you can get him.
What can you tell us?
Absolutely. Turn around, Johnny.
Excellent judge. I was out there in that sea of reporters, as we talked about. This was back during the time of the arraignment, and that is what the jurors are going to have to face as they're coming in and out of that courtroom every day. It's going to be a brutal existence. We're talking live today from New York City, talking about this, the first day of jury selection in the O.J. Simpson case. You had a question before we left.
Yeah, my question was, witnessing things like that sea of reporters, as three respected lawyers, could you tell me, do you truly think there's any possible way that justice will prevail in this case?
That's going to be a very tough proposition, because I would say the vast amount of publicity, by far the greatest in American history, in this case, has brainwashed everybody in this country. They either are solidly for or solidly against O.J. Simpson. And it's going to be tough, because even though they profess to be impartial, they will bring an open mind into the case, that they will decide the case only on the evidence, so help you God. That's the oath that they have to take. That is nonsense, because they still will have their leanings. And looking around this young audience, when I say young, most of the people here, I would say, are under 25 or 30 years of age. It's a sort of...
The ladies back here said, thank you, thank you. Mr. Kellner, I'm going to say thank you, too.
Well, you especially.
Thank you.
You're very photogenic.
But let me just point this out. But all of us, regardless of your age, 107 days since the murders, and all of the pieces of evidence and all the information that's come out, since there have been a slew of developments. Let's just take a look at some of them. With pretrial hearings going on and on since the end of June, why, it almost seems that O.J. Simpson has already been on trial. We have been shown what, according to the prosecution, is hard evidence against O.J. The bloody gloves, the cut on O.J.'s finger around the time of the murder, the knife he purchased, the blood on the now infamous Bronco, and even a mystery envelope.
whatever it is in the envelope here that I'm holding in my hand.
Remember the neighbor whose television watching habits helped narrow down the time of the murders?
I generally watch the Dick Van Dyke Show and then walk my dog, and that's on during the week. That's on between 11 and 11:30.
Of course, there was the testimony of Simpson's live-in house guest, Cato Kalin, a household name we've heard as much as O.J. himself.
What was the defendant's mood like at that point, about 7 o'clock?
Not upbeat, not downbeat. I thought he was tired.
Do you remember the limo driver who waited to take O.J. to the airport the night of the murders?
Can you describe the person?
6 foot, 200 pounds.
Black or white?
Black.
You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to come in again. Okay, just stay on the line. I don't want to stay on the line. He's going to beat the Wait a minute.
And then there is the damaging evidence of some of O.J.'s prior acts. Whether any records of Simpson's abusive behavior towards Nicole will be admissible, it's a sure bet most potential jurors have certainly heard about them, along with the rest of us. And if you think it's been an O.J. feeding frenzy by the media so far, just wait until the trial gets rolling. That's what our next guest, Bill Hoffman, says. He's from the New York Post, and he has been covering the O.J. Simpson case since it began. Welcome, Bill. Nice to have you. I mean, in addition to the evidence and the things that have been coming out that we just saw there, you've got the bloody socks that KNBC is reporting about, you've got the note from Nicole, you've got the break-in of Shapiro's office. I mean, talk about a media frenzy. How much of this information do you think needs to go out? I mean, are we guilty of a feeding frenzy?
Well, you know, I really think not, because you have to, it's a catch-22 situation. For instance, everyone is now criticizing us for giving too much information away. Yet if we were to start saying, well, we're not going to tell you everything about O.J., we're going to withhold certain information, then you'd say, oh, look, O.J.'s getting special treatment. You know, the media is not telling us everything. So really, you know, it's either give or take, or, you know, whatever.
And, wait a minute, what was that? Come up. Come on, stand up. You got to stand up when you talk on the show.
We're very much overwhelmed with all the information we're getting. For example, Judge Cater just said that the socks aren't true. I mean, what do we know is true from not true? I think we should wait a while and let the jury selection take place, and let's find out if he's guilty or not guilty. I think it's enough. Enough is enough.
But see, I also wonder, because I go through the same things that you're going through, journalist to journalist here. I mean, our credence is so the people shall know. It is important to bring out information, and I bet there'd be a lot of folks complaining if we didn't. So how do you strike the balance without overwhelming folks, as you say? And the truth. That's the main thing. Yes.
It's very hard, because you have to look at the figures. When shows like Rolonda and other shows have stories about O.J., the ratings go up. It's proven. When the newspapers print O.J. on the front page, like the New York Post, we get more readers for that day. So people want to know.
Let me ask you this, though, is one of the things that I know that journalists always have to keep a real sharp eye on is how much the competition trips us up. How much is the competition in your newsroom playing in terms of the coverage of O.J. Simpson?
Well, that's one thing we're guilty of. Of course, everyone wants to be first on the case, and we're all competing against each other. And that is the one unfortunate thing I'd say that comes out of this entire thing, is that we do have to beat the other person that is trying to beat us.
Right. Sonia?
Yeah, Rolonda, I think we also have to think about what the media deems newsworthy. And the truth is that we are in an interesting catch-22 because we have been predicated on the idea of free speech. And God forbid if they ever come to the place where they say you can talk about this but not about that. We have really not set any personal limits. There has been no responsibility exercise. I hear him breathe in. Wait.
And I've got to take a quick. Listen, we will continue.
Not finished.
I know, but I've got to take a quick break. You know, we're live, so we have to take the commercials when they say to. And we're going to come back, and our mock jury members are going to join us. And I'd like you to be able to throw some questions so we can get an idea of what the folks are going through in Los Angeles today. We'll be right back in just a minute.
For Mr. Hoffman, do you believe that the television coverage of the pretrial motions and all those things have prejudiced the jury pool? And since along that question, the last 5 years, television coverage in California courts have prejudiced jury pools in that sense?
I really don't think it has prejudiced the jury pool. I mean, the one thing we have to give people credit for is the fact that we are all intelligent human beings. I think that's a lot of times the court officials forget that. I think there are many people who could actually try this case having read everything, including the National Enquirer and the Star and the Globe and everything. And
let me point this out, though. There are no cameras in the courtroom today as they're starting this process. That's for sure. Yes, Sonia, and quickly, because I want to get to our mock jurors, so go on.
Okay. The one thing that you don't recognize is you say we're all intelligent. Sure we are, but anybody has not been in the courtroom. And they're looking at things like motions which are normally not done publicly. They don't understand, so all they see is the judge says denied. That means the judge says no good. That means the judge in some way said voting against O.J. Now, this is for public consumption. That's not true. Many of these things have to be decided on the basis of law. So it hasn't got to do with that, but it prejudices us.
Okay.
You have to realize that the most powerful factor in any jury trial, any kind of a case, is the preconceived thoughts and notions that people bring into the jury box before they ever got to the courthouse. Now, in this case, you have the most phenomenal amount of publicity ever in American history and jurisprudence in any cases in any part of the land. And so you must realize it's not just what happens in court, it's what they bring into that jury box.
What is that? Nobody's looking for a fair, impartial jury, says one quote. They're just looking to win.
That's part of the system. But remember, in the average case in Great Britain, they're not permitted to publicize as they do in America under our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, press, and the right of assembly. Marvelous, marvelous freedoms. In Great Britain, they can't do it. And so here, there could have been a gag order, which probably would have been better.
Well,
to gag all of the lawyers, to gag all of the witnesses, and to
well, before we gag anybody else, let's get to the jurors.
They didn't do it.
Mr. Kellman, let me ask you this. Here in the United States, there are like today 1,000 people going in to possible jury selection. Right. Let's say that our 3 mock jurors is Bernie, Gloria, and Seymour over there. What kinds of questions would you ask to see? Let's take a position, either prosecution or defense.
Right.
And if you could, just riddle these 3 folks with some questions that could determine whether they would be on which side. Which side are you going to go for, their prosecution or defense?
For the prosecution. I'm worried about whether you've already made up your mind that this man is completely innocent. I want to get somebody who's fair-minded, and I have no idea that it's so, because you've formed impressions from all the vast publicity. Now, sir, I ask you this. Have you been following the O.J. Simpson case on press, radio, and TV?
Yes, sir, I have.
And have you gotten certain impressions as to guilt or innocence in the case?
No, sir, I haven't.
Are you saying to me that, have you read about the fact that she had called the 911 number about 8 different times because she was afraid she'd be beaten up or killed by her husband?
I'm aware of that, sir, yes.
You're familiar with that?
Yes, sir, I am.
And did that form any impression on you, sir?
Not relative to the slangs, no, sir.
How about, and this is in the public domain now, a bloody glove found right near his home and matching a glove that was at the scene of the crime. Does that make any impression on you, sir?
It'll be considered at the time of the trial, sir.
And has any of that given you any leanings?
No, sir, it hasn't.
You feel you are completely open-minded. May I go to juror number 2 now? Would you be resentful at all of the fact that this was a case of marriage of a white woman to a black man?
No.
Would you be open-minded on that subject?
Oh, yes, I would.
You feel that that would not give you any particular leanings as far as that's concerned?
No, it would not.
The fact that you're going to be segregated, as the court has announced openly to the public, that you'll be segregated perhaps 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, or 6 months from your family, your job, and so forth. Is that going to make any difference to you as your willingness to be on this jury?
No, it would not.
You feel you're willing to give up the time. Are you anxious to get onto this case?
Not necessarily, but if I would have to go, then I would go.
Well, but you won't have to if you are going to be stating to the court that you'd rather be excused because it may be a hardship, may jeopardize your job.
This is where TV comes in. We've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more of our mock jury selection right after this. Active. Find out how to talk to your child about sex on the next Rolonda. The jury selection in the O.J. Simpson trial could take as long as a month. Maybe even longer. I think USA Today this morning was saying as many as 6 weeks it may take. Mr. Kellner, if you could continue now with Seymour, just some of the questions that could possibly face a jury by the prosecution.
Sir, you've been following this case very closely ever since the murders occurred?
A little, not closely, but a little.
Were you a football fan by any chance before this entire thing happened?
I watch football. I'm not that much of a fan of it.
Did you know about O.J.'s career as a star, outstanding football star?
Yes.
And did you have a certain amount of pride in the fact that you are of the same race that he is in his accomplishments?
Not really.
Well, sir, are you employed?
Yes.
What is your job, sir?
I'm a comedian and actor.
And will this take you out of circulation in your profession for about 4 or 5 or 6 months? Or would that be a hardship to you economically?
Not really.
Are you fairly anxious to get onto the service as a juror in this case?
I wouldn't use the word anxious. If I was called to do it, I would do it.
Did you form any preconceived notions as to guilt or innocence in this case before you came here today?
No, not really.
You're completely open-minded?
Yeah.
Okay. Decide this case only on the evidence, so help you God, which is the oath you must take.
Exactly.
And we'll be right back after this. In the jury talking here, the first two jurors say that they feel 100% you could serve on the jury, be impartial and the rest. Right. But it was interesting because Seymour, I said, Seymour, what do you think? And what did you say?
It kind of stumped me when he tried to use the, was I proud because he was a black football player?
It kind of stumped you. Well, these are the types of things. This is the first day of jury selection. We're going to keep talking here, as we always do. But thanks so much for joining us live today, letting us be a part of your day. And we will continue this talk. See you next time on Rolonda.